There's something interesting about this little infographic on Ubisoft's website, on their store website, anyways. They have their coming soon games, and these are the games that are listed under that category. Some of the games that are listed include The Division Heartland, which is a free to play. They also include the unclassified XDefiant, that's what I'm calling it, pun intended, and Assassin's Creed, Skull and Bones, Avatar, and the Crew Motorfest. Now, the ones that are usually the subject of my attention are Division Heartland, which we don't necessarily have anything coming. We don't know if we're going to see it in Ubisoft Forward. If anybody knows, please let me know in the comment section. The game seems to be a real thing. They've already put, forward all kinds of registrations in play. It has its ESRB rating. Possibly would also have its own PEGI rating in Europe as well. I don't know much about that. I haven't looked. And then, you look at the other titles like, say, even Avatar and, X Defiant and so on and so forth. One of the really challenging things is in all of this, barrage of games that you're seeing here, the only one that we have a confirmation of the release date is the Assassin's Creed Mirage game. This is the one that we know is going to be coming out pretty soon. We have a fall release date, October 12th, 2023. It appears to me that Ubisoft is dialing down into some of its core franchises and maybe doing some kind of I don't know, maybe a circular thing where they say, okay, let's start from our more successful franchises that we can punch out every so many years. I guess that's probably where things are going to be. 2.5 year, release windows. These are the Assassin's Creed bread and butter Ubisoft perspective in regard to releasing their games. They almost never miss. They use as many studios as they need. They go for it and they do it. I think this is a good thing. I strongly believe that, even though I'm a Division fan, and when I look at Ubisoft's list of games, I just want Division, Division, Division. No doubt about that. But I think they understand that the market right now is transforming very fast. In fact, if you actually pay very close attention to what may be going on, it appears that this live service shooter market is not one that can easily be broken into at this point. But Ubisoft recognizes that they actually have some brand names that they could use to break into it, or they will continue to try with games like XDefiant to maybe break into them. And believe it or not, with all of the testing, the open betas, and all the feedback that they received, shockingly, XDefiant got a lot of positive feedback, and a lot of different, interactions with the developers showed that it appears Ubisoft wants to kind of gain a segment of the FPS free-to-play market, regardless of how it is they come about it. Remember, XDefiant is not the first. Hype Escape was one that they did, which also was a free-to-play game, and they were looking for a way to slice into that segment of the market, but it just did not work out for the publisher at that time, so they had to shut down that game. But instead, with this XDefiant game, they've been able to take a different approach by doing a lot of open forums and doing a lot of closed betas for people to be able to get their hands on the game. And in this way, they've been able to in a sense segment the intended audience to get the job done. I wonder if Heartland is not going through that exact same, testing and stress testing and them gaining feedback to be able to understand exactly where it is they need to go with the franchise overall. And then at the same time, they're still going ahead to try to do their big games. So yes, as much as as a publisher is probably in a really weird place, maybe even in some dire straits, I still think they have a certain, strategy that they're still going for. But, it's one that they have to be very cautious about because, again, everything that they have to do has to pretty much land in very pristine fashion. They don't have enough room to take a lot of hits. I think there was an article that showed the other day that Ubisoft was looking for avenues to cut about $200 million or so. I don't know if it was $200 million, if it was $20 million. It was a big amount of money. It was a significant amount of money. What that would look like is going to be very, very strange. It's, it's not something that you can easily say, well, if you want to cut costs, why don't you go and then slash this stuff? But what they're going to be doing is they're going to be doing this indirect, cutting of costs that's still going to create the same effect that I'm not really a fan of. And in the article that we looked at, I can't even remember what it is, forgive me, they mentioned that, possibly canceling some video game releases will probably be one of the measures that they're going to be taking to get that done. And what canceling games actually means, the unfortunate side of it, is that, developers will probably have to move to other projects. And worst case scenario, I don't even want to say it because I don't like to say it. I've been in a position where a company has, in a sense, moved, our work to other, teams, and decided that, they didn't need us anymore. And I understand the pain that can actually cause, and I don't want to wish it for anybody. So whenever we see these titles that Ubisoft is working on, it appears that the strategy is still there, and these developers, as much as they may be under a banner right now that, the company may not necessarily be in its regular gung-ho release game phase, there's still a strategy, and I think some developers are getting, some small wins here and there, and XDefiant shows one of those that is probably going to be there. I mean, if you think about this game has been a game that has been heavily molded by a community of gamers. Think about it. The very first time the game showed up, it was a Tom Clancy game. They had first said, oh, this is Tom Clancy XDefiant. But then many of the community members in the Tom Clancy space, they kind of said, hey, man, this is not a Tom Clancy game. Do not take a live service game and try to brand it with Tom Clancy. It feels a little cheap. It doesn't feel organic. Ubisoft went ahead and said, you know what? What the heck? It's a free-to-play game. Let's get the name away. Once they changed that name, it really did resonate with a lot of people. In fact, I was so surprised to see the forums where people were actually lighting up this game, and in a good light, basically highlighting the game anyways in a good light, not lighting up the game in a terrible way, but pretty much talking about how they thought the game was able to nail down a few things, how they could feel the influences of some of the creative team that had previously worked on some hardcore shooters in the past, and how they thought that those elements were going to show up in the new game. So this might be Ubisoft's sleeper live service, game that's coming very soon. Like, everybody is trying to dip their hands in live service. So you see that Ubisoft was not crazy like Sony. Hey, where are those Sony people that said, oh, but Sony always makes these wonderful games? And I told y'all, I said, Sony's just been enjoying a lot of the licensing fees from these other companies. But seeing now that, the whole gaming atmosphere is taking a different direction. A lot of new games that are coming out, they're not really satisfying a lot of people. You get like maybe 1 or 2 really fun releases every year, and then we get a dark horse here and there. It's not really a time for a lot of these studios to depend on, or publishers anyways, like Sony and Microsoft, to solely depend on the fees that they've been getting from profit sharing or licensing fees that they've been getting for these other publishers putting their games on their platforms. So everybody is going out there, and it's time for us to basically see if we're going to get valuable games within this category pretty soon. Well, it's just all interesting, and I wanted to point that out, that maybe it would not have been too bad if this was a Tom Clancy game. I mean, seeing that it's something that many people like, but maybe it was also a really good thing that it wasn't branded as a Tom Clancy game, so that we could get a clearer picture as to where the Tom Clancy games are going to go. So this is the Tom Clancy free-to-play game. This is the one that's going to be third person. So this is within a Tom Clancy universe. Hopefully it's able to represent the other things that, we in the Tom Clancy universe, well, the Division universe anyways, because the Tom Clancy universe is kind of diverse. You have your Ghost Recon folk, you have your Rainbow Six folk, and then you have your Division folk. So at least maybe there might be some shared themes, or possibly, there might be some aspects that really can draw people from other sides into these ecosystems. But thanks so much for watching. Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. What do you think about Heartland? And what do you think about the new XDefiant basically separating themselves and kind of giving the Tom Clancy name a little bit of breathing room to kind of keep its identity much more pristine? Talk to you guys soon. Peace out.